Well, you guys, here we are. We all survived this secret invasion. We have made it to whatever comes next. And that was not a good show. It was whatever the opposite of a good show is. I won't say it, but it was that. This was rough, and I think a lot of people have kind of wanted Marvel to do poorly, to fail, all that stuff for a while, because they were on top. Of course you want the guy that's on top to fail. And because of that, I feel like a lot of the failures were kind of overstated, right? The show would come out that wouldn't be perfect, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier or something, have kind of a, silly ending, twist that didn't quite work, and like a speech that was like, whatever. But like overall, it was like, that show was not bad. That was an okay show. They had a lot of fun stuff in it, and a lot of stuff that I think is quite fun, and like I enjoyed. And people were also really harsh on Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, when in reality I think that movie's pretty good. Like I think it works. But what I mean is, it feels like the Boy Who Cried Wolf kind of situation, where like these people that cried Marvel has finally made a real absolute big old dud, have been wanting this to happen for so long, and there have been so many shows and so many movies. And like, oh God, Marvel, come on, what's going on here? Man, between this and Quantumania, I really don't know which one's worse. If one of them has to be the worst thing they've done, it's probably this. This is bad. This is a bad show. It's a bad whatever it is. It's like, man, it's tough. And like, keep in mind, I've not figured out what I'm going to say in this video. I have not like put this thought together. I'm still working on it. But for now, I'm just kind of working through this stuff in real time, because I just finished episode 6 of Secret Invasion, and I haven't even really looked at too much of the reaction online. I've seen a little bit of the reaction on the Nandovi Movies Discord channel, where people have been talking about in the spoiler chat, and like expectations leading up to this episode. And I scrolled through Twitter really briefly. I scrolled through X really briefly so that I could get a sense for like, do people like this? And the answer is no. I think the more interesting thing, though, is like, not just like, why did it not work? Because there's two big questions here, right, for Secret Invasion. One, why did this series more or less not work? And then two, why did this episode not work? And I think the why that did this episode not work thing is very important, because, first of all, I don't even think the fight looked that bad. I think it looked weird. I think all the characters like kind of turn into big goo guys, and her getting a big old goo arm that was a big Drax arm and punching them with it. Like, it's weird, but it didn't look horrible. There were some shots that looked cool and looked like things you would see in a movie, and I was, somewhat impressed by. But this was a fight between two characters who have all of the superpowers at the same time. And it wasn't like boring, but it was kind of as messy as it feels like it would be if you actually gave someone those superpowers and were just like, fight. And they were like, well, what do you mean? What should I use? I don't know. Just figure out something. Use whichever ones you want. Punch and hit him, fly, see if that works. Who knows? Maybe you could kill him, maybe you can't. Like, when they got to the point, and spoilers for Secret Invasion episode 6, but like, man, when they get to the point where she does kill him, I'm like, that might work. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe they'll just do this forever. Maybe they have to throw each other in a volcano. I don't even think that would kill Captain Marvel. But again, I imagine the way that this will be explained is she doesn't have all of her powers like fully. She just has some of them a lot. No, she does kind of have all of her powers. Okay. I think we have to write one limit for Gaia in this like thing, because if there is no rule to how Gaia works, then Gaia will have to be killed by something the next time. Like Kang will have to show up and kill her to show how cool and badass he is, but also because they cannot figure out a way to write Gaia being so powerful. I would say the way you write Gaia is that she can use one of her powers at a time. She can't use them both, right? So she cannot fly and be invincible, or fly and super strong. Kind of like sometimes Amazo is written that way, although not usually, but like I feel like maybe Young Justice or one of those shows did it, where like the idea was you have to trick Amazo into using the wrong power to protect himself that then you can use to destroy him or something like that. Because this character is not sustainable. This character's not going to work. Skrulls live super long and she has all the superpowers. I do think there will be people will kind of go back and go, which character is she now, right? I'm not saying I would say she would be like Phyla-Vell, but we just got a Phyla-Vell, thank God. She can't be Captain Britain. Like, she could be Captain Britain, but she's not Brian Braddock, and she's not Betsy either. Honestly, like, Marvel doesn't have the rights to this character anymore, but she's Combo Man. She's that character that was a Combos mascot, where there were like little slices of them was each character, and it's like the Hulk's head and, you know, Iron Man's tummy and whatever. That's what this is. That's what Gaia is. She's Combo Woman now, Combo Person. Also, that she's working with Sonya now. I'm sorry, who are you? Like, who? We still don't know anything about either of them, really. Like, Sonya, we know nothing about Sonya. We know that she listens to rap music once, and she kind of knows Nick Fury and does British stuff. And apparently, if you pull up in a car and look like a person that's kind of a person from this show, Gaia, we could have gotten Gaia. We didn't try. Everybody out there, we didn't go, hey, Gaia, I want to make you a deal. Let's work together. She might have taken it. You know, I'm being a little hard on her. I'm sure she knew who Sonya was, but just like, I mean, we didn't until this show started. So it's not like a really important power. Like, honestly, if Julia Louis-Dreyfus came out of the corner and was like, hey, Gaia, I want you to help me. I still don't think I would like it, but I'd be like, that's a character that would do something like this. The fact that now Sonya is working with Gaia, it's like, I don't think we'll ever see either of these guys again. And I don't think we'll see Skrull wife name, I cannot remember, Priscilla again. That's not her Skrull name, but you know, that's as good as it's going to get for me right now. If it wasn't for the Marvels, I think it'd be a while until we see Nick Fury. Okay. All right. Let's back up a little bit here. This episode is really weird for a lot of reasons. First one, for some reason, the president still hasn't figured this whole thing out. And I get it. We've elected dumb presidents in the past. Some would say recently-ish, you know, maybe not the current one, but before that, we've had some real tough nuggets in there, like just not the brightest bulbs, but man, Ritson is one of the worst. I can't believe we got 6 episodes through a show that was essentially like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing. And at no point did any character invent some sort of way to tell who's a Skrull and who's not a Skrull. Not a secret handshake, not a blood test, nothing. You can kill them. And Sonya figured that out at one point. She's like, if I shoot them and they turn into a Skrull, then they're a Skrull. Like, nothing before that. Nothing that's like the, you know, we're going to burn your blood, like in The Thing. And then, who, you know, that one that jumps out, that one's the person that's the Thing. Right? Like, that is part of the fun of this. It's a mystery. We're solving a mystery. And still, Ritson and Fury at the end of the whole thing are like, he's a Skrull. And Rhodey's like, no, I'm not. And Nick Fury's like, he is, though. And I'm like, prove it. Use proof. Haven't you figured something out? Aren't there so many things you can do right now to just be like, okay, well, cut off your finger. If you don't really want to prove to me that you want to launch nukes and destroy Russia, cut off your finger. And if it turns into a human finger, then you know what? I'll do it. And if it doesn't, then I'm turning you into a Skrull. Like, you're a Skrull and I'm going to shoot you. Like, that's what's going to happen. So, you know, but no, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Just all of them like, no, it's him, sir. He's the bad guy. And even like through this, it's not like there's a thing. At no point during the series has a character figured out like a tell. Like, the only reason Fury knows that Rhodey was a Skrull is that he heard that conversation and was like, oh, I was working with my wife. And then it all kind of came together. But like, at no point in this whole series did somebody have like a conversation and then the other person was like, yeah, Rhodey wouldn't say that. And then like, what? And then just shoot him or something like that. Nothing. No eye patch on the wrong eye stuff. Nothing. A lot of the stuff that I say, specifically me, but YouTube reviewers, critics, everybody in this industry comes off as kind of, why didn't you do the thing the way I wanted? But like, I built the brand of like the one small change thing. This is what I would have done differently. But a lot of that sometimes is building on like what I think would be more successful in the moment. This, and what I'm saying here of like things that you do in a show like this is, no, this is the show that you told us this was in the branding and in the trailers and in the interviews every single time. Oh, it's a conspiracy. Like, it's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And it's like, no, it's not. It's not like those things if you don't do these types of things. Like, you don't have to do every single one of them. You don't have to do it in order. But like, if you're going to make a paranoid espionage thriller, you need to have a moment where there's a character who you can't trust. Like, there is never, like, Everett Ross dies minute, 5 of the first episode of the show and is revealed to be a Skrull. Since that moment, there is no character we spend time with who is both a good guy and a Skrull that is secretly bad, right? Like, I'm just saying, problem with the Rhodey thing, the big problem, is he is antagonistic no matter what. By the time Fury is suspicious that he's a Skrull, let's say episode 4, Fury can't go, can I trust Rhodey? I know he's saying that I should listen to him, that I should let him help me, but on the other hand, he seems like maybe he's a Skrull, maybe I can't trust Rhodey, I gotta figure out a way. But that's why nobody had to figure out how to figure out if anyone's a Skrull, is because everybody that was a Skrull was bad or good, but the Skrull part didn't matter. None of the Skrull stuff mattered. Rhodey being a Skrull was played the same way as if he was just a brainwashed Manchurian Candidate kind of guy. There's one bit in this episode, which, fairness to them, I mean, they put the clip on YouTube earlier today that was a little bit of it, and I pretty much immediately was like, oh, I see what's going on here. But still, that's something. This is the thing. Guy goes in acting like Nick Fury, gets Gravik to turn on the machine, kill him in the machine, and then it's revealed that that's what they're doing. Sure, that's what you would do in this. The reverse never happened, right? We never had a character leave a room and then come back and then act very differently. And it's oh, wait a second, he's a Skrull, right? It's crazy to me. This is still crazy, and we'll get to the president because that whole thing is nuts. What they ended up doing with him, probably the biggest mistake of this show, if you can call something like that a mistake, but it's just a really wild move that kind of goes against, I would assume, the themes and what the series was trying to kind of develop. But either way, you kind of figure maybe episode 5, President is rushed into the emergency room. Nick Fury leaves him. It's don't talk to anybody, Mr. President. Mr. President's okay, all right, Fury, I'll do it. And then later that day, Nick Fury's watching the news or something, and he sees the president giving a speech that is A, really out of character, and B, he is healed too well. Based on the wounds, Nick Fury's wait a second, he should have a scar. Oh no, they just switched the president, right? I mean, the president's bad anyway, so who cares, apparently. I really like the old, not old, because I guess there's 5 of them now, but the 70s Invasion of the Body Snatcher movie, Donald Sutherland, all that stuff, is very good. And the fact that our main characters were never in a room with someone and suspicious of whether or not they were a Skrull in that moment. They always knew whether someone in a room with them was or was not a Skrull. That's wild to me, right? There was no scene where Nick Fury was talking to someone like Gaia, and then he took a second and went, wait a second, you're not Gaia, are you? And then they shot him and turned into a different Skrull or something like that. So yeah, so the Gravik stuff was boring. It's very dumb and unsatisfying that there was no confrontation with Gravik and Nick Fury, that by the end of this show, Nick Fury still never had to explain himself to Gravik, never had to explain himself to us. As a person who understands what Nick Fury in the comics usually is it's not what the Nick Fury in the movies is like. Nick Fury in the movies is almost always a good guy. Sometimes he'll be a little bit more I don't trust you, but he's a good guy. Versus Nick Fury in the comics, who's so morally gray that even when he does something that's good, you still don't trust him. And you're well, what are you getting out of this, Nick? But with this Nick Fury, it's not only there was no scene, still no scene where Nick Fury acknowledged I used all of you. And I know people are saying well, yeah, he is a bad guy. No, he's not just a bad guy. This is a character who, in the universe, as far as everything we know, he's never made a case for why he didn't do this. Just putting it all together, this is what Nick Fury is. He found some refugees with superpowers. It was hey, you guys, I'm going to find you a planet. But until then, help me keep my planet safe. And they were all that sounds like a good deal. 30 years later, nothing happened. And then that's it. Fury never has to explain himself. Oh, here's what I was actually doing. It just, nothing. We could just assume he didn't give a shit. Why would he care? Why would he care? His wife's a Skrull, apparently. And they're together because why not? Just imagine. I mean, it's not unlike what bad governments do, but if one guy was the government and he was here's what I'll do, immigrants, refugees, you guys can live here for as long as you want, as long as you do a bunch of tasks for me, espionage too, you do murders for me, and I will help you find a new place to live. And then 30 years later, they're hey, why don't you find us a new place to live? And he's I don't even have to answer that. I'm never going to say it. No one will ever know. I'm a bad person. It's like, well, that guy sucks. I don't want that guy to be the main character of the show. Like, Gravik's anger with Fury is kind of dumb. Like that whole conversation, I think, is fine, but like, I don't think it's justified by what's happened so far in the show. And also, like, no, it's really dumb. It's really dumb. Nick Fury took advantage of these people. His wife is one of them, and she's not mad at him. And Talos was mad at him, and Talos is dead. Kira was mad at him, and she now just got into the same deal pretty much that her dad got in, and look where that got him. But like, they really just had no idea. I still don't think there's a good answer in the show. And not like a good answer, like just like one that I will accept. A good answer in terms of like one that is definitively what the show wants you to believe, right? Like there is no, this is what happened. We'll never know. Why do we need to know the biggest like moral compromise this character's made if he has a good reason or not? The character just keeps saying he does, and he just keeps going, ugh. So I guess he doesn't have a good reason, but wild. So then you've got this whole thing with the president, which the editing on that, man, I don't want to like be too tough on like editors and people that work behind the scenes, because I'm sure editing this was very tricky. But the bit where Rhodey and them are doing their thing and Gaia is doing her thing, like those two kind of plot lines, Rhodey's like trying to get the bomb to have the president kill everybody, and then Gaia is trying to fight Gravik, right? Those two things are ostensibly going on at the same time. That's what the show wants us to believe, but they are in no way connected, right? Gravik getting the bomb off, like if the bomb doesn't go off, but he kills Gaia, we're still in a lot of trouble. And if the bomb goes off and Gaia kills him, we're still in a lot of trouble. So the fact that the narrative has to kind of try to find a way to tie those two things together with this like cutting between one and the other, and go from Gaia killing Gravik very like kind of slowly, and like one of those moments where at the end it's like and then back to like Rhodey and them doing more of this stuff where it's like, no, President, you have to kill Nick Fury because he's a bad guy, remember? They just very, very poorly paced. And you have the president, who we haven't really seen the president do anything, have any opinions, have any point of view. So you kind of figure a show like this, I'm assuming, has a scene where Talos and Gaia talk about the immigration, like refugee, identity crisis that they're all having. And it's like, hey, here's my plan for how we thrive. And he says, what we do is we save the president and we have a big bargaining chip. And then he says, well, thank you so much, Talos and Gravik and all of you fine fellas. You can be Skrulls all you want. And like, Gaia's like, that's kind of silly. But it is also like, you figure a show like this would kind of believe in that, right? It'd be a little bit hopeful, a little bit like being a good person will eventually lead to good things. Especially because Talos did save the president and Nick Fury told him that. And the Skrulls are bad, and we know which ones are Skrulls and which ones are bad. So, like, having a world where Gravik and the bad Skrulls, led by fake Rhodey, who is now dead, attack the president. A different Skrull, and I'm sure Nick Fury will tell the president this, did tell him this, a good Skrull saved him, and the Skrull that wanted peace saved him. But then, that Skrull who wanted peace is now dead, because he pretty much sacrificed himself to save this president. What a good guy he was. Even though the president knows that, and he knows that most of the Skrulls are normal people, and there's like a warehouse full of like 100 guys who they captured, people that we know who they are now. So like, S.H.I.E.L.D., Fury, go get them. Put bags over their heads, go find them. And then you just clean this up, whatever. But like, tracking down the remaining Skrulls should not be hard, or at least figuring out who is the guy that they're pretending to be is very easy now, because we know everyone that's been stolen. So all of this happens, and the president is still like, I want to do war against Skrulls. It's like, why? What do you get out of that? What purpose does that serve? Like, God damn it. This is so X-Men too. And like, if you've seen X-Men things, this bit where the president has to give a speech after a big world-ending disaster almost happens, and everyone knows it's related to the mutants, happens in X2. The best one of these, in my opinion. The best superhero movie thing. And I'll admit, there's other stuff that's up there. I don't think it's like unequivocally, but just my favorite. The president the X-Men go and plead their case, and they're like, hey, Mr. President, listen, here is why our, maybe not quite like hopeful, like, bright-eyed optimist, like everything's going to be okay ideology, but this, like, here's how we coexist together. Otherwise, there's no other option. Like, otherwise, we're done. They go, this is how it works. And the president goes, actually, X-Men, all that sense you're making, that's a lot of sense. I think I'm actually going to do peaceful instead of bad, because that's just what Magneto wants. And then, so we get that same moment again. They're making this speech. He's like, this character seems kind of normal, but like, even though we should be able to get rid of all the people that are taking the place of Skrulls, because we know exactly who those people are, this guy's still like, there's 1 million aliens and we have to kill all of them. God, this show is dumb. By the way, that area that we're told people can't live in because it's irradiated, right? But the Skrulls have a higher tolerance for radiation, so they can live there. And the other thing that they use that place for is body storage. I feel like Rhodes, he's going to be pretty thrilled to not be dead or in trance or whatever it feels like he was in. He's going to have some problems in the future from all that radiation he got. Like, it's okay if you're in the basement. There's no radiation in the basement, I guess. But like, okay. So first of all, having the president be like, have that big thing where he's like, we have to kill all the aliens. If you see one, shoot him. First of all, insane. Like bad. But then second, that is the note the show ends on. The show about the immigrants, the refugees, trying to figure out how to peacefully settle. The one who's nice to, but it's not even, and this isn't even like this kind of bittersweet ending where, or like the end game is you beat up the one that's the worst, and then the president tells everybody that you're bad and you gotta kill them all. And then they have a news, like a video, like absolutely of just 3 guys with AK-47s walking up and shooting Christopher McDonald, Shooter McGavin on TV. Like, what the hell is that? What is that? Like, episode 6 at like the 95% mark, the show's like, and what if people were paranoid about who wasn't a Skrull? Wouldn't that lead to some consequences? It's like, that's episode 1, dude. We don't have time for that now. That's what the characters are supposed to prevent. Or, figure out or deal with or something. Like, I think one of the other things, I honestly might make a video about this because this is bugging me so much. There's so many things that this chose not to do. And by chose not to do, I mean, like, if you look at the source material for this, there's things that it does. And if you look at the, like the Secret Invasion comic, but also if you look at like the influences of this, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, there's things that does. Genre conventions that they must have known existed, right? One of the things about Secret Invasion that's so fun is the Skrull reveal comes out of nowhere. And it's just like, oh yeah, that character's a Skrull. And then everybody goes, wait, what does that mean? Like, that washes over the whole universe. But God, like, there's just so many ways a show like this could work. I just can't get over that, like, the political, a show like this where a nice guy died, sacrificed himself to save the president. And like, it's very clearly articulated this philosophy, and his daughter was like, you're wrong, Dad. That's stupid. And then that happened. The end game of that wasn't her taking up, seeing his example, seeing it work, and then becoming like more, hopeful, slightly more pragmatic. But like, it was not some sort of like fusion of those ideas or anything like that. It was just like, well, no, that was dumb. Obviously, don't try to help the president. Just baffling. Showing that clip, those clips of people assassinating world leaders, you don't need that, Marvel. You don't. And like, there has to be somebody from quality control or somebody high up that can say like, don't put that in. Put a big, take a garage or something with spray paint on it this is like Skrull on it or something, and like, that's all you need for like the paranoia is tearing neighborhoods apart. People are fighting other people. But again, like, you can't end the show there because that's the show. And that post-credit scene where they just showed the credits and there was no post-credit scene, wild. Especially because this leads into like the next movie. It's the Marvels. He's in it. Are we gonna even, you don't want to show a little bit? Just a little bit? Like, I'm not saying you have to, but like, a lot of the problem with some of these post-credit scenes is they tease things that don't seem like they're ever actually going to happen, right? Harry Styles walks on, it's like, I'm an Eternal too. And you're like, all right, we'll see if this does well enough, I guess. But like, back in the day, it was like Thor with Hammer would be there and we'd be like, oh, right, because Thor movie is next. And that would be a nice little thing. With this, part of me goes like, maybe they were like, let's make sure not to put anything connecting Captain Marvel to the Marvels and Secret Invasion. We don't want people to think those things are related. Honestly, this may spin off into its own universe timeline that doesn't count. Nick Fury's arc in this whole show is very bad because it's nothing. It's him deciding to be Nick Fury again, which he always was. Even in the beginning, even when I'm out, I'm out. I'm in, whatever he says. Even when I'm out, I'm in. And it's like, okay, so you're in. So what? And it's just like, oh, everybody he knows is being killed. But it just didn't work. The ending's dumb. Oh, you're kidding, Fury. The Kree called and they said there's a peace talk. Who cares? No Krees in the whole show. Have a Kree peace talk in the background or something. Oh, we're getting calls from the Kree leadership saying they might actually have a solution to this problem. No. And also, I'm not positive about this. I don't think the Kree is, I think the Kree is a bad guy of Captain Marvel. And I don't know if that's like, can't be peace talks, but it's like, and also Nick Fury's like, I need a good diplomat like you. Oh, is that what her job was? I don't know. We never spent any time with her, figured out any of this. I thought she was a spy like you because she said I just did spy stuff in that restaurant that one time. So, I don't know why she's a negotiator now. It seems like you're not a negotiator either. Really, nobody is that's in this cast. Also, like, the Kree have agreed to peace talks. With who? The million Skrulls on Earth that nobody knew existed? Other Skrulls in other places that's just kind of their own thing? Like, at this point, one of the events you would kind of expect is going to happen eventually is some sort of Skrull-Kree war, but it just wouldn't make any sense. Because it seems like there's also, they wrote themselves a little backdoor. They said at one point somebody was like, and besides obviously Johnny Flamingo's Skrulls, the best Skrulls that are out there doing something different than what we're doing right now, we're all the Skrulls we've got. So like there's always like more Skrulls, so that if in another show they want to be like, actually, you know how we thought we got all the Skrulls? There's different Skrulls. And they have a different, even more complicated set of beliefs that don't really hold up to any scrutiny. And also, there's other Skrulls even beyond them in case we don't want, like what happened with them, we can have more Skrulls. But like this, is there a Skrull-Kree war just going on in the background of this where they're all fighting? Because if it's not peace talks, it's like, what is it? Just the Kree being like, all right, they can come home. It's been a while. They've had a big old trouble. I don't know. It's not good. Not a good show. Bad show. You gotta call spade a spade. I don't take any joy in this. I was really excited for this. I don't think I'm gonna wear that shirt that much. One that reminds me of this show that is bad and this really, really like poorly done character reveal thing. Like the Rhodey Skrull, looking back, it means nothing. And even now, at the whole end of it, we see real Rhodey get up and like walk a little bit and like kind of fall, and nobody is like Ross is like, when did you get captured? What year do you think it is right now or whatever? And the show still doesn't say it because they haven't figured it out. Because if they have to figure it out, then it'll have to have been then, and they can't do that. Like, yeah, it's just, I knew when this started, I was like, I really don't think they're gonna commit to something. They could have though. There could have been. Like, we could have seen the scenes from Infinity War where Rhodey is, like, talking on a walkie-talkie to someone, and, like, you don't see his face, and then he turns and he's a Skrull, and he's like, they're going to do stuff in Wakanda. We're going to work on it. Bye. Just so it's like, oh, he always has been a Skrull. And, like, but they didn't even do that. He was a Skrull. When was he a Skrull? Yesterday, maybe. I don't know. Maybe his whole life. We'll never know. I guess not too long because he's got the same hair. You would assume these people would have beards and like long hair and stuff unless they got captured like the other day. Unless there's a Skrull whose job it is to groom them, like give them little trims. Yeah, I mean, listen, as the world's number one Rhodey not believer and someone who's been thinking about how this reveal can happen and what it could mean and like how it could play into a show like this for a while, I can't think of a more kind of not that interesting way to do it than is have him be a jerk the whole time, act super out of character. And some people say like he's always a jerk. It's like, yeah, but he's not this big of a jerk. He would not gleefully fire Nick Fury. He's not. How about this? He's a jerk. He's not an idiot. He's not stupid. And like him, the way he acts in this, and he was doing it in this one too. Like, oh, you took your stupid pills this morning. You're just like, come on, man. This isn't like, we have movies where we know how this character talks. And I assume the character that is impersonating him knows what he talks like too. Like, he can be a little, weird, and he's like, is boom, you're looking for this, like, oh, it's like you're two seals fighting over a grape, like stuff like that. But like, still, it's like he's not that big of a jerk. So that part of it, have him act weird and out of character, have him be bad the whole time, so you can't trust him whether he is or is not a Skrull. Have the reveal be something that just kind of happens off screen, and you kill him and never reveal how long he's been a Skrull or commit to anything. It's really about commitment, and they just didn't do it. And it's a bummer, because this is not a good show. But yeah, like, I think it could have been good. I think there's a lot of promise with this idea. I would like to never see the Skrulls again. I think in Captain Marvel it was interesting, this idea that they are just around, and like they're people, but they're not evil. They're just like kind of misunderstood refugees. I think that was clever. But like, everything we've done with them since then, it's like, oh, Nick Fury, Maria Hill, or Skrull in the Spider-Man movie. It's like, oh, who cares? Or what? What does it matter? And he's in space? Okay. Like, and the next time we're going to see him, he's going to have come down from space. Right. Okay. So it doesn't matter where he's been. Nothing has changed. Like, how is Monica Rambeau not in this show, by the way? In the end of WandaVision, she goes and meets with a Skrull. And the Skrull's like, Nick Fury needs to see you, and it goes up. And like, it's like, oh, you have to go to space. Sure. But like, I know people are like, oh, he's going to call Captain Marvel. It's like, well, probably not, especially now seeing the Marvels trailers. Like, they're far away from each other. But Monica, he works with on a daily basis, and she knows some Skrulls. This is perfect. But the more we've kind of used the Skrulls as a political metaphor, like an allegory for any other refugee people, it just gets worse and worse and worse. They can't be bad guys. And we don't need them. We don't need everybody. Ultron died, and then we never brought him back. I think we could bring him back if we wanted to, but also everybody went, you know what? Ultron didn't really work. Let's not bother. I think that's what we kind of got to do with Skrulls. Just never mention him again. Next time we see Rhodey, someone talks to him and they're like, man, it's crazy what happened to you. I heard about that on the news. Are you caught up with everything? Yeah, it's been a crazy couple of years getting used to these new iPhones, but I think I'm back. I think I'm Rhodey again. And you know what? We don't even have to worry about it. So let's just continue as if I was already there the whole time, because this isn't working. All that being said, I'm looking forward to Loki. I think Marvel needs to put out a trailer for Loki season 2 like yesterday. And I know they're a little hesitant because they want to wait until the writer's strike is done, which part of the reason I've been reviewing the show is because it's okay to do it based on the writers and actors guidelines, because I'm not being paid by the studio, clearly, based on everything I just said. But it's an important strike, and it's going to kind of, it seems like, because the studios and the bosses behind Disney and all that don't seem to want to negotiate or do anything to actually end the strike. It seems like a lot of movies and shows are going to get delayed, and it's not good. Like, it's obviously not worth not striking for, but it's extra bad for Marvel right now, because I think if Marvel was able to put out a hit, like if they were able to even just put out a Loki trailer, people were able to get excited for it. People go, man, the MCU stinks right now, because they do that all the time. There's people that tweeted after Guardians like, man, I wish I had not seen another Marvel thing since Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, you saw one Marvel thing since then. Like, maybe one of them's going to be bad. And like this show, it's not good. But like Loki's going to be coming up soon. And I think if they could show a trailer for Loki, people would go, oh yeah, right, these are good. And like, who cares? They don't need to prove themselves every 5 minutes. But I do think, to justify more movies and more TV shows, showing that the people are still excited about your thing would be good. I do think this will be stricken from the record in a fashion that is never been seen before. I don't think any characters will ever talk about this. I don't think Fury will talk about this. There's Skrulls in the Marvels. I bet they won't really be that big of a deal. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a real bummer. There's other good shows, though. I like After Party. That's my favorite show running now. That's really great. I recommend that to everybody. It's on Apple TV Plus. It's a real good time. And there's great movies. Oppenheimer, Barbie. Disney put out a Haunted Mansion movie today. That's also a movie. But beyond that, there's other stuff that's great and like really good and exciting, and people are loving it. So, watch those things. Enjoy them. I might make a bigger video about Secret Invasion and its problems and everything like that. But for now, this is me kind of signing off. It is all my thoughts. I didn't like it. This finale specifically. I think there were parts in the beginning that worked, that had promise, but clearly this wasn't building to anything smart or like thought out, and it just ended with, you know, a couple of weird reveals, a very strange political like message, and then it was done. So, you know, at least it's done.